communication and sometimes the lack thereof, um, and triggers. I was having a conversation during this past week with someone, and I realized during the conversation that I was being triggered. And when this particular trigger comes up for me, I have almost no control over the way that I respond to it. And I get really confused because my behavior starts to become that of a person that I don't really recognize anymore because I've done a lot of work on myself. And so when I was triggered in this way, and it was during a conversation, and when I feel this trigger, I am not able to effectively communicate with the other party. I mentally go to another place. I can't hear anything, and I start to react based on my emotions. And my emotions at this point had reverted back to whatever they were during the original um, situation, whatever that may have been, or many situations that created this inside of me. That so now, when I am triggered in this way, it snaps me back to a feeling that I have very little control over. And I don't like the way that I react to it, and I don't like the way that I very ineffectively communicate when triggered this way. And I don't know if anybody can identify with that, but I suspect that some people can. Um, so the good thing is that while this whole situation was happening this week, um, I think that I was able to stop myself before it got as bad as it had the time before, and probably every time before that. So I think that it's improving. However, I still felt a real loss of control, and I don't like that. The person that I am trying to be today is not someone that loses control and reacts on an emotional basis, um, which usually means irrationally. And communicating ineffectively is another thing I do not want to be doing at this point in the game. So all of those things came into play this week during this scenario. So I'm trying to be hyper vigilant about triggers and putting a space between the trigger and my reaction to it when at all possible. I did note that after this situation had passed and I was looking back at it to evaluate every detail, I did realize that this time was not as bad as the last time. And so, even though it may be by the smallest degree, there has been a tiny improvement. So, I'm happy to report that. So, I guess my method of dealing with it is effective, even if in a small way, and I'll continue to work on it. Yeah, so that's what I got this week. Thanks.